So the compare and contrast. At foundation level, the various sports are very similar as they all try to reach the children the fundamentals of the sport. Other than where to score there isn't a lot of different except in rugby where the athletes don't use the same rules as the other levels as the athletes don't play full contact as the children haven't physically matured enough to play contact sport which without injuring themselves severely, but they are taught the basic techniques and participations. Football and basketball are very similar in these areas. The only one that is different is rugby, in which the athletes have to get used to new set of rules and transition in contact sport, unlike football and basketball, where the students are joining teams. The rugby athletes at participation level have to learn new techniques such as how to tackle correctly, otherwise they could risk injuring themselves. Performance. At this level, all sports, the players should be playing at county level or at academies, and they should be working with experienced coaches to develop their physicality for the top levels of their respective sport. I believe basketball has the worst approach to sport development, but this is because of English performance at international level. They perform poorly, and as a result, the lower levels of basketball don't receive a lot of funding to develop talent, such as new better players don't get into the elite level of basketball, and as such, they don't help the coaches or just teachers who aren't specialized basketball coaches, which means they may not be teaching the correct techniques, and when they reach the participation level, they will have to be retaught basic skills, which will hamper how they develop, which will then affect how they play at performance level, as they haven't had as much time to learn new techniques as they have had to go back and learn basic techniques again. So it's basically going back and forth with the basketball bit and the coaching. I believe rugby has the best approach as it focuses on developing homegrown talent, which is why the national team has achieved success, which means funding continues to get into developing players and the facilities to make sure the national team continues to succeed. If I could change anything, I would put more funding into foundation level basketball, as it doesn't receive enough, and more funding will mean more specialized coaching, which will mean the players have the best chance of developing their talent at an early age, which will give them the best chance of succeeding at elite level because they have had access to top level coaches and facilities early on, which allow them to develop quickly. Barriers to participations and their target groups. So over 50s, will have other things to do instead of taking part in sports, such as looking after grandchildren, which limits how much time they have to devote to sports. Nowadays, many over 50s people also have to work jobs as they can maintain an acceptable standard of living, and this will leave them tired and unable to participate in sports. Fitness levels. As people age, their strength and fitness level decrease, leaving them to participate in contact sport as they risk breaking their bones as they become more brittle. Joints and muscles become stiffer, which makes it more painful to participate in sports in general. Over 50s aren't going to do something that will cause them a lot of pain and discomfort. So money, over 50s often have to rely on their pension, which will have to go on their food, rent and light and gas instead of sports equipment as they sport that are available to them, such as golf or bowls, require membership fees which can run into hundreds or thousands or pounds in fees, which is large majority of over 50s will be unable to afford. A lot of old people also help out their grandchildren when they run into financial problems, which ultimately leaves them with little money left to themselves for sport. So that's why over 50s are more likely like have a stomach, a belly, and financially they're not stable. Physically disabled, lack of specialized equipment. So I'm still going about the barriers. Um, Lack of specialized equipment for physically disabled people. Participating in sports requires equipment to be specially adapted, and for non-professional athletes, this equipment is extremely expensive. Equipment such as wheelchairs for people who want to play basketball or run in races, they need prosthetic legs and sports wheelchairs which need to be specially made for the person. Facilities, the areas in which disabled people need to participate in, needs to be specially adapted for the athlete to compete in. Adaptations such as wheelchair ramps aren't always available, and for an athlete who wants to play wheelchair basketball or rugby, this will prevent them from participating, which could discourage them from trying to play in the future. Money. Disabled people may not make a lot of money as they may have to live off disability benefits, which will not cover the cost of transport to the facilities they need to compete in, and they will not be unable to pay for specialized equipment required to participate, as the cost will run into thousands. So that's another barrier, another lack of money. So money issues right here. So about young people, time. Yeah, time. Young people face many challenges as their participation in sports, such as their GCSE exams, which require them study and revise regularly, which cuts the amount of time they have available. Some young people are also in employment, which means they may have to pay rent and for their food, and this means they need to work to earn money to pay these bills, and they are unlikely to want to play sports, as after a long day at work they will also be unable to stay on a training program for regular periods due to previous factors I've mentioned, which will result in them being dropped from the team. They may be part of it. And money. So young people will not have loads of money to pay for a sport they want to play, as they will likely be students who have to pay for accommodation and student loans. As mentioned before, young people may be responsible for paying bills such as rent or council tax, and this will eat away at any money they have for sports. And this, combined with them working, will limit the time and funds they have for sports. And another one, so the transport for them. If you are participation level, it is likely you will be part of a team, and this may involve traveling long distance from where you live, and this could be deciding factor for whether you want to continue participating or not. This also links in with time available, as it may take hours to get where you need to train or play, and this can result in lots of time being wasted getting there or back, which could limit the amount of time you have to study. Also, cab, bus or train fares will be expensive, and as you will be training regularly, this will destabilize your finances. So that is a barrier as well. Transport, I really, me myself with transport, that one is a killer. Transport, you have to travel to the place and then going back home. It's just long journeys. They will kill you as you're sitting down on the bus. Your body will just shut down if you don't get the ASAP. So the solutions to the barriers: physically disabled. Money, as stated previously, many disabled people may not have the money available to constantly cover transport costs. So the club they belong to could procure a specialized bus to pick the participants up and take them to the training or games. Lack of specialized equipment. There are different charities and sporting initiatives, sorry, difficult word, such as Adam Multi-Ship Foundation or the Dream It Believe It Achieve It, DBA basically, which provide disability grants for athletes, and in the case of the DBA, they seek to help foundation or participations level athletes in getting specialized training and equipment. Facilities. There isn't really a solution to this problem as getting facilities, but the national governing bodies of sport and sporting initiatives are striving to create and improve the current facilities to make them more accessible to disabled athletes. For example, most swimming pools nowadays have ramps and angled pathways to allow wheelchairs to access the facilities. So the over 50 time, the facility or clubs that the over 50s belong to could run their sessions at the different times of the day and on weekends, as this will allow the participants to go to the session when they have the time instead of missing the sessions due to looking after their grandsons, grandkids, or work. So fitness levels for people who over 50, they could join yoga or pilates classes, which will help them to increase their flexibility, which will have the added benefit of decreasing the pain they will feel in their joints and increase their strength levels. These sports won't put a lot of strain on their body, and since older people become injured easy and young people being able to participate in sport that increase their fitness levels, which without hurting themselves, hurting them too much, will be attractive to them. Money. To remove this barrier for over 50s, clubs or fitness centers can offer special deals to offer 50s, which reduce the price, and this will make it more affordable to over 50s, as they will be more likely to join classes which have a special offer on instead of paying full price for a class. So young people time. As with the over 50s, the clubs young people belong to can offer training sessions at different times to fit the schedule of the participants, as they may attend in school or revising for exams. The club could speak to their participants and together decide upon the best times for the athletes to train. Money and transport. Clubs or fitness classes could arrange for a bus to pick them up, to pick up the athletes, and this will reduce the amount of money the athletes have to spend on transport, which could be very expensive depending on the distance they have to travel. Clubs or centers could also give discounts, which allow the athletes to participate at a lower price than would usually have to pay. And this was the end of my presentation. Thank you for listening, and below I put the website that I have used some information from, and once again, thank you for listening.